We start the very latest edition of The Lead with breaking news. Utility Johannesburg Water says an unprotected strike by some of its staff has since been called off, following discussions with municipal union SAMWU. The rest of this show was compiled before this latest development. Not all disasters or crises are natural. Just ask the politicians of Johannesburg. The blame is now being laid at their feet for the growing water emergency in our city of gold. And to rub salt in residents' wounds, Johannesburg Water staff are now on strike as well. News 24 Metro journalist Alex Patrick reports for us next.
That means nothing has happened. No fixing of pipes, no nothing. What is that, 4 days? And during the worst time, I mean, they're talking about this massive water outage that the city is experiencing. I mean, it's affecting hundreds of thousands of residents, if not more.
Later in our trending topic, Knysna and the mother city are also grappling with their own set of water woes. And finally, the US conceded it needed to change tact with apartheid South Africa, with On This Day in South African History, our regular segment, heard later.
To know when the next episode drops, hit the like, follow and subscribe buttons on our YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast channels.
In Roby's Pointless Braai quiz this Tuesday, who did the Proteas thump in their opening bout of the T20 World Cup? It's an easy question with an even easier answer. Get it right, you might score the priceless prize of being the most informed person around the Braai place. My name's Graeme Robenheimer, this is The Lead, and this is the South African Story. Moving to our top story today, while she's in charge of keeping us in the know of all service delivery woes in the Johannesburg Metro, and what a task that is. It's our very own journalist, Alex Patrick. And when she's not visiting hijacked buildings, she's detailing a growing water crisis. Alex, how's it going? Welcome to your very first edition of The Lead in 2026.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's wonderful. I'm happy to be here.
We all know you are super busy as the resident Johannesburg Metro journalist. Let's begin with the very latest. Of course, we've just received this word from Johannesburg Water as a water utility. It's just updated reporters that its staff members have embarked on what the utility is describing as an unprotected strike since Friday. The worst timing.
Yeah, I mean, apparently they're striking over bonuses. We only actually found out yesterday, and what councillors were told was that it was a go slow. We didn't actually know that they had downed tools completely. So, yeah, that means nothing has happened. No fixing of pipes, no nothing. What is that, 4 days? And during the worst time, I mean, they're talking about this massive water outage that the city is experiencing. I mean, it's affecting hundreds of thousands of residents, if not more.
And what do we know about the grievances of the staff downing tools at this point, Alex? Do we know what they're upset about?
We actually don't know much. What I've been told by councillors is that it's got to do with them not receiving bonuses. They have been striking on and off the whole of last year, which is also why our water infrastructure has taken so long, to be built, because we are building new water infrastructure. But they've been downing tools. Last year, it was because of non-payment, and the city admitted to this. As we know, our financial coffers in Johannesburg are running a little empty. But this time, it looks like they did not receive bonuses, but that has not been officially communicated to us.
You've penned just this week 2 separate pieces for News 24, taking a sharper look at both the governance crisis that's formed around the poor water supply levels in Johannesburg at the moment, and sort of the operational side of things. And kind of what I've gleaned from all of this is that water experts, various role players, Johannesburg Water itself agrees that Johannesburg is facing a severe water supply crisis, but that this is not necessarily sort of natural, that it's rather human-made in its nature. Essentially, it's that old story of, well, the Metro's water infrastructure has been allowed to decay over the years. Do we know why Rand Water is now exacerbating that situation with the possible threat of throttling water to Johannesburg. Do we know why?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, what's the reason?
Our Water and Sanitation Minister, Phemi Majindina, said so herself, that unlike in the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape, which have natural, the drought is for natural reasons, in Johannesburg and Durban to a certain extent, the lack of water is actually administrative. So Rand Water has been threatening to throttle Johannesburg especially, but both Johannesburg and Tshwane, because of the overuse of water. So Rand Water extracts its water from the integrated Vaal River system, which is a very long way of saying the rivers all the way from Lesotho down to the Vaal. These rivers and dams have been built specifically knowing that Johannesburg, which is the main Rand Water, we use all our water from Rand Water, whereas other municipalities have a bit of Rand Water and their own supply. So this integrated river system has been built specifically to make sure that Johannesburg, which grows by 100,000 people every year, will have enough water. We can talk about the issues there, but let's just put a stop in that. Rand Water has got a license to use a specific amount of water, and obviously this is in place to protect this precious resource. We can't overuse the water. We will actually damage the infrastructure. There won't be enough water. Because we have had issues in the past, the Department of Water and Sanitation has allowed Rand Water to over-extract and to give Johannesburg what it needs. But it's taken water away from Ekurhuleni. So these water systems are all they're all interlinked. And so what they have to do is kind of shuffle the water around. So we are allocated per license 1,600 megaliters of water. That's 1,600 million liters of water a day. And we were using 2,000 million liters. And so Rand Water had to then figure out where to get that water from to give it to Johannesburg. They've now said no more. They cannot do it. They are now just giving Johannesburg 1,600 million liters as per the agreement, but they use this kind of coded language. They're saying they're not throttling us yet because they're giving us what we're entitled to. So to them, they're not using the word reduction. They're not using the word throttling. They're saying they haven't done that yet, but they will do that. So not only will they give us what we're entitled to, which is the 1.6, but if we don't start using water properly, I mean, we lose 35% of our potable water to physical leaks. If we don't plug those holes, they will actually throttle the water further. And then, I mean, we're already in trouble.
Yeah. You also got word from the advocacy group WaterCan, and this is sort of adding a layer to everything. And they've pointed and raised the alarm about this Suikerbosch water treatment plant explosion that happened earlier in January. That shut down operations there. And then there was also this water leak at the Klipfontein Reservoir inlet. This has seemingly exacerbated things for Rand Water, right? How bad is this layer of these two incidents adding to the overall situation? And how does the mid-Rand sort of water crisis filter in, for the lack of a bit of a description, for this entire sort of compounding situation at the moment?
Well, put it this way. For every second that Rand Water does not pump water, and when that explosion happened, it happened on the 27th, and it was back up and running properly 100% on the 30th. So for every second that the water does not run at Rand Water, Johannesburg will take 4 hours to replenish. So I don't know what those calculations are, but that's why there's always, when there's an issue at Rand Water, it has a 4 times by 4 kind of emphasis in Johannesburg. So for every second Rand water is down, it will take Johannesburg 4 hours to replenish that water supply. So this particular system that broke down directly affected Midrand.
Okay, and so that has that knock-on effect for Johannesburg, which, by the way, oftentimes we get reminded as a very interesting factoid, but Johannesburg is the world's largest city, of course, we know, not built near a major water source. And when it comes to these sort of crises that we hear every couple of years, although it's starting to feel like they happen more frequently, we get reminded that there's no local water supply nearby. So, I mean, all of this in Gauteng needs to work so that each city can sort of survive, so to speak. Which currently areas within Johannesburg, and I think let's just limit it to that, Alex, because we can't be all over the show at once. But which are the main suburbs that are really struggling at the moment? I think it's the Randburg side of things, so Ferndale, Ward 99, those areas?
What Joburg Water had to do in order to make sure that the rest of the city received water during the outage is they do the same thing. They then take from the full reservoirs and give to the empty ones. So there's this shuffling that goes around. Always the high-lying areas in Johannesburg are the worst affected. So we're talking Melville and Westdean have had no water for 3 weeks, 23 days.
That is hectic.
West and Emmarentia.
I mean, can you imagine that situation?
Well, I mean, we're in it. And, I speak to people every single day. Imagine 3 weeks of no water. It's one thing, no electricity, but you're talking, I mean, this area, it's supplied by the commando system. And like I said, it's always the high-lying areas because we rely almost completely on gravity to feed our system. So the lower the water is, the less gravity. So it can't kind of reach those high-lying areas, and eventually the low-lying areas will use up all the water, etc. This commando system near Melville, Westdean area, Emmarentia, that kind of inner city area, there's 60,000 households. So, I mean, that's people, children needing to go to school, that's babies that need washing, elderly, etc. You've got your 3 hospitals, you've got your 2 universities. It's a major problem.
Absolutely. What's also struck me is that people are quite unanimous, whether it's the Water Can Initiative, whether it's local councillors, authorities, that this is not only just a governance crisis, but the blame needs to lay squarely at the feet of politicians and coalition instability in more recent years. And ahead of the upcoming municipal polls, I mean, the opposition parties, wink, wink, your Helen Zille and the Democratic Alliance must be rubbing their hands because they're going, this is the ultimate, political electioneering tool to try and get into power. But, I mean, the basis of it is that people are concerned that we're going to be heading to another coalition again and again have a situation where politicians can't see eye to eye, and the most critical work of upgrading old water infrastructure just does not get seen to.
No, exactly that. And obviously every time our government changes, they want to make their own changes within. So they will then implement a new EISD MMDs, that's your Environment Infrastructure Service Delivery. They're in charge of water. And then that MMC may want their own people here and there.
Yeah.
And this constant stopping, starting means that these projects can never really kind of continue. They always say that they've put measures in place and they move money to wherever. And these, it affects our infrastructure. Unless somebody wins an outright majority, which is half plus one, it will be another coalition government. And then the focus will then be power in terms of political power, not ESCOM.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the same issues all over again.
Well, talking about politicians, I mean, Dara Marero, the current mayor of Johannesburg, an ANC mayor at that, he recently survived his motion of no confidence brought against him. And, what is his office saying at the moment? I mean, it feels like this is a sort of perfect storm with this strike also happening at the same time.
To be fair to the mayor, some of these pipes, if you talk about infrastructure, some of these pipes are like 70 years old.
Sure.
The ANC hasn't been in power for 70 years. So it's everybody, really.
Yeah.
But because they have been in control recently, they have the mayor has the ability to call for a kind of disaster or a crisis, a national crisis, a national disaster. This will unlock funds, which the city does not have, and it will allow Johannesburg Water and other entities that are struggling to fix its resources, its infrastructure. But then I guess I can't speak for the man because he hasn't responded to our requests, neither has the ANC. But perhaps it will put him in a bad light. Perhaps he doesn't want to ask for help because, like you said, this is his second motion, and he didn't escape. He narrowly escaped. We're still going to hold that motion unless it gets withdrawn. It was just postponed.
In the meantime, you also got word from one landlord in charge of several student accommodation buildings in Johannesburg. Whilst we have this discussion, he's got several students living there that are living in unhygienic conditions because there's simply no running water. How bad is it for that particular complainant?
Joburg itself has had these major billing issues. So they mistakenly thought he had not paid his water bill. Now, the man has not had water, but he did pay his water bill, and they threatened to cut him off. I mean, this shows you how little they actually know about what's happening in their own city.
Yeah.
He said, cut me off, I've got no water. He's got 37 students in 3 accommodations, and this is in those inner city areas that are really struggling with water. But the problem is that the water tankers are also really scarce. I'd be joined in saying that there's actually not enough water tankers. And water tankers are not a good solution. And there's no residents that have been complaining that there's no real communication. And I would agree with them. You don't know where the water trucks are. You don't know when they have to replenish their water. So maybe they were going to come to your street, but then the street before used up all the water, so now they're not there. So these students are saying to him, what can we do? We don't know when the water trucks are coming. We've got no water. He did install JoJo tanks for them, but Joburg Water won't fill those. And his last estimate would be 21,000. And he said he cannot afford to pay that much money for water and pay his water bill. It just doesn't make financial sense. It is a crisis. And I was very interested to see today when Joburg Water communicated that they had this protest. They used the word crisis.
Alex, thanks so much. I really do appreciate it. I always love chatting to you, and sometimes I'm a little bit sort of green with envy for the stories that you cover. They sound super interesting. Sometimes things can feel a little bit boring here in Cape Town.
Well, at least you're not living here. That's all I can say. No, I'm joking.
Cheers, Alex.
I'm joking. We love it. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Trending topic.
Shifting to our trending topic, Johannesburg's not the only major metro currently grappling with water woes, with Cape Townians now being urged to reduce their consumption this week. The city says an overnight interruption in the bulk water supply from the Theewaterskloof Dam has since affected the inflow to 2 water treatment plants here in the metro. Now, water production is reported to be down by as much as 55%, with the Water and Sanitation Ministry investigating the cause of this latest interruption. The city previously raised some alarms, saying that whilst dam levels remain somewhat stable here, it was concerned about increased strain on local water infrastructure. Meanwhile, in the Southern Cape, authorities in Knysna are prepping for the worst-case day zero scenario with plans to ration 50 litres of water per person per day if the worst comes to pass. Local dam levels there are dangerously low. A contingency around water shifting. Think of it like load shedding, where certain households' taps are open at certain times. A distinct possibility now for Knysna residents is this option on the table, but the Joint Operations Centre warns there that such an extreme solution may only work with everyone's buy-in. How did we find ourselves here when the writing's been on the wall around water scarcity in this country for the longest time? Drop us a comment below.
You're listening to the latest edition of The Lead on News 24 with Graeme Rowenheimer. If you've got an opinion on what you've heard so far, drop us a short voice note on our WhatsApp hotline. That's 072-562-3179. And finally,
ending off with On This Day in South African History, that's the 10th of February 1987. On this day, US President Ronald Reagan acknowledged that his policy of quote-unquote constructive engagement with the apartheid state had failed. He announced a shift in US foreign policy, signaling a more direct effort to build relationships with black South African leaders. Washington, up until this point, kept ties with apartheid Pretoria, largely due to Cold War strategic reasons, including the cooperation linked around the regional proxy war with Angola. This, despite international condemnation of the apartheid policy, and this new stance increased pressure on the South African government to then accelerate political reform. In Roby's Pointless Braai quiz for today, it's an easy one. Who did the Proteas stump in their opening bout of the T20 World Cup? The Canadians. We, the 2024 finalists, nailed Canada by some 57 runs. And now it's time to face Afghanistan next in the very same Group D on Wednesday after they lost their opening bout to top contenders, the Black Caps, New Zealand. If you got this right all along, well done. You score the priceless prize of being the most informed person around the Braai Place. We'll keep it here to The Lead this week. We've got 5 editions for you. We're going to be doing a Thursday show where we'll be previewing the State of the Nation address, and then Friday morning early expect a very special package on the analysis of the President Cyril Ramaphosa's latest 2026 GNU State of the Nation address. What did he say? What did he leave out? Is it more lofty ambitions of bullet trains, or are we getting down to brass tacks? We'll keep you informed every step of the way with News 24's special SONA 2026 coverage. Until then, hit like, follow and subscribe. And my name's Graeme Robenheimer. So long as there's trusted news first, we'll always have The Lead.